Have you heard the latest news in the world of Formula One? Daniel Ricciardo is officially back with Red Bull. But before you start jumping for joy or scratching your head, there's a catch. He will return as the team's third driver for the 2023 season rather than as a full-time driver. So what does this mean for Ricciardo's future and the Red Bull racing team? What does Red Bull CEO Christian Horner think about Ricciardo's comeback? Stay tuned as we delve into this exciting development in the F1 world. Ricciardo returns to Red Bull, the team he left for Renault at the end of 2018 after departing McLaren after the 2022 season. The smile says it all. I'm truly excited to return home to Oracle Red Bull Racing as their third driver in 2023, Ricciardo said. The ability to contribute to and be surrounded by the best F1 team while also taking time to recharge and refocus is highly appealing. I'm excited to join the team and assist with simulator work, testing sessions, and commercial activities. Let's get started. The Australian hopes to return to Formula One in a competitive seat in 2024, but admits that the time away from the grid may change his mind. I knew I wanted some time off from a race seat and just from competition next year, Ricciardo said at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. With the difficulties of the last few years, it was pretty clear to me that after the summer break, that was what I desired and what was best for me. Daniel Ricciardo has until the summer break in Formula One to decide whether to stay with Red Bull. According to team principal Christian Horner, Carlos Sainz is the most obvious replacement for the Australian driver. Ricciardo is under contract with Red Bull until the end of the current Formula One season, and he's been offered a new contract. He's making the Milton Keynes-based team reconsider his decision despite interest from Ferrari and Mercedes. Zak Brown, CEO of McLaren, said it's a great mystery why Daniel Ricciardo struggled to find consistency during his 2 years with the team. Ricciardo's victory at Monza in 2021 ended McLaren's 9-year drought for a Grand Prix victory. Still, he had little else to brag about after falling to land another podium finish in 44 races. It was a disappointing return for the Australian, who had arrived at McLaren on a high salary. The team cancelled his contract a year in advance and brought in fellow Australian Oscar Piastri. With both parties have moved on, Brown can still not pinpoint the source of Ricciardo's difficulties. We've certainly looked into it, Brown said to Speed Cafe. We gave it our all. Daniel gave it his all, and our relationship with Daniel was fantastic. The outcome was disappointing for both of us, but it is a mystery. I don't think Daniel knows, and we don't know, because we tried everything. Perhaps he worked too hard. Ultimately, we both decided to make a change. We tried everything and had no idea why it wasn't working. So, changing the environment will restore his magic because he is a magical man. You saw what Mona could do, and he's done it 7 times before. We needed to make a change, however, because we couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. In addition to 2-time champions Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, Ricciardo joined Red Bull as their third driver for the 2023 season after leaving McLaren. After committing to McLaren for 3 years in 2021, but that was his only podium finish. His first season in Papaya was disappointing as he finished 8th in the standings with 115 points. McLaren pushed to replace the Australian in his second season, finishing 11th with a disappointing 37 points. Ricciardo and McLaren mutually agreed to terminate the Australian's contract in the middle of the 2022 season, with Ricciardo leaving the team at the end of the year. When asked if he had pinpointed the causes of his struggles, Ricciardo told the In the Fast Lane podcast that he fell into a cycle of confusion, negativity, and overanalysis. It's something I've certainly considered, he said. Now that the season is over, I've already let it go. But I'll think about it again in the future because it's a bit of a, I don't want to say a mystery, but my continuous struggles were, at least for me, very foreign. We all have had bad races, but having the amount I did and the level at times, like a second a lap off the pace, made me scratch my head. It occurred to me last year during the summer break that I was driving very deliberately. It was no longer natural. I was one step behind schedule. That's when I realized I think we're attempting to do much. But as much as we'd like to see Ricciardo back on the track in a car worthy of his abilities, Horner has stated that he has no plans to use him as anything other than a reserve. Horner has now issued an ultimatum to Ricciardo, stating that the 28-year-old has had until the end of the season in August to decide. There should be a decision by the summer break, at the very latest, he told the German publication Auto, Motor und Sport. We don't want to wait indefinitely. We have other viable options. Our top priority is to keen to working with Daniel. If that doesn't work, we'll consider other options. The most obvious is Carlos Sainz, he went on to say. He's under contract with us. There are also a few young drivers. Horner was also pleased to reveal who Red Bull would choose to replace Ricciardo, who won his first race of the season earlier this month in China. However, the Australian's new position is separate from that of a reserve driver. Liam Lawson steps into that position this year, prepared to take over if Verstappen or Perez cannot compete on a particular race weekend. Ricciardo is a well-liked figure wherever he goes, but nowhere more so than at the Albert Park circuit. For nearly a decade, the Perth-born driver was the only Australian on the F1 grid, and his personality and on-track abilities earned him a large fan base. While he wasn't racing in Melbourne this year, Ricciardo was constantly at his home race. Daniel Ricciardo is unreliable, Pierre Gasly is always looking for excuses, and Alexander Albon is too nice. That is the opinion of Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko, who has been brutally honest in his assessment of those who have raced for the team in the past. The Austrian also spoke about Carlos Sainz, a former Red Bull Young Driver Program member who left before graduating to the top team. The Spaniard is one of Max Verstappen's main rivals these days, racing for Ferrari and winning his first F1 race last weekend at Silverstone. They were teammates at Toro Rosso many moons ago, but only some were well between the two future champions. It was his bad luck to get Max as a teammate, Marko told the Red Bulletin, a publication of Red Bull. The atmosphere at Toro Rosso was quite toxic between the two. I couldn't see a way to keep him with us in the setup we had at the time, so we moved to Renault, McLaren, and then Ferrari. Verstappen and Ricciardo raced together more frequently, and despite a few high-profile disagreements, they generally got along well. The Australian was Red Bull's lead driver for a while and won several races with them, but Marko could have been more impressed. Helmut Marko said in his first year at Red Bull, he defeated Sebastian Vettel by 3 wins to nothing. When Max arrived on the scene, he was at crossroads in his career. Rather than engaging in a fight, Ricciardo preferred to keep his distance. And you know what happened after that? That's unfortunate. He was always pleasant to work with. His speed is comparable to Max, but lacks the ultimate consistency. After being later recruited from the sister team, Gasly spent only 6 months at Red Bull before abruptly being let go. According to Marko, he failed to secure his position because he was always looking for excuses instead of addressing his own mistakes. However, Marko has been impressed with how the Frenchman has reintegrated into AlphaTauri after being dropped. He is a team leader and is accomplishing incredible things. Like his compatriot Francois Sever, he is quick, cheeky, and dedicated to the finer things in life. Despite Marko's dissatisfaction with Ricciardo's consistency, Ricciardo was chosen as Red Bull's third driver for the 2023 Formula 1 season. So, what are your thoughts? Can Ricciardo make a strong comeback and become a top driver again? Or will he need to help keeping up with the sport's younger up-and-coming talent? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications. Until next time, goodbye.